Hey everybody, Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com, back to do another video, an initial analysis of the Steelers. Unfortunately, 24-17 loss to the Denver Broncos Sunday afternoon, drops them to 7-3-1 on the year, and you can really circle one team for why this Steelers group lost the game, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, as Tomlin said, and as the cliche answer goes, but there's certainly a nugget of truth in there. The Broncos made the plays. They forced the turnovers. They got some stops when they had the opportunity to, and ultimately they're the team that won the game. So hats off to them. I talked about this on Wednesday's podcast and Friday as well when we got in depth with Denver, that I thought this was a better Denver team than their record indicated, and they had some serious threats and weapons and things they do well that would have posed a big challenge to Pittsburgh. And so it certainly did, and the Steelers' six-game win streak comes to an end. But end of the day, Steelers could have won this one by 21 points and had so many opportunities and just could not finish. And they've been so good this year at finishing, whether that's games, drives, third down, all that kind of stuff. And it just didn't happen today. A lot on Ben's shoulders in this one. I thought he was excellent. I know he threw the two picks, but neither were terrible. The first one was kind of off of a holding and kind of a weird play. The second one was just another kind of a weird play. It wasn't the terrible Ben we've seen at times. It wasn't the bad Ben that we saw for 3 quarters against Jacksonville. Effective. It had its moments. I'm fine with them throwing the way they did because it was so effective. I don't care about the balance. That's not the reason why this team lost this game, was a lack of quote unquote balance or anything like that. Just didn't finish their drives, didn't capitalize when they needed to. Juju was great. You got to give a ton of credit to him. 13 catches, $189, and a touchdown. Just the evolution he's had, and I think the Steelers are really starting to figure out kind of who the top three receivers are, and it's just kind of revealed itself. Obviously, you've had AB and Juju. You've been searching for that third guy, and you've seen Ryan Switzer make some big plays out of the slot, which is where he's really only going to be able to line up. So you've seen Juju move to the outside these last 2 weeks more than you did the first stretch of the season, and I think that's kind of your ideal lineup of AB as the X, Juju as the Z, and Switzer in the slot. And some of those guys, AB, Juju especially, are capable of moving around, so you can still create some matchups when you need to then. But Juju's been fantastic and certainly making the big plays in this one. The run after catch on that 97-yard touchdown was just phenomenal. So hats off to him and the job he's done. Broncos obviously did a big job of taking away AB. AB got his a little bit, but Juju is now stepping up. And you heard, I think, one of the Broncos secondary players, DBs, I forget which one it was, maybe Darian Stewart, said after the game the goal was to double AB, but not just AB, but double Juju as well. And now he's starting to get the respect, attention of teams. And if you double both, then you got single matchups the rest of the way. Helps open Switzer. It's going to help open other guys like Vance. I know he was a little quiet today, but that's going to help you in the long run for sure. So hats off to Juju, one of the guys you can confidently, completely say played an awesome game Sunday afternoon. Thought the O-line did a nice job. Gave Ben tons of time. Chuck Wilmot-Okorafor, I thought, did well for his first start. Obviously, Pittsburgh gave him a ton of help. There were a couple missteps, but when you're facing Von Miller and you're facing that really strong Broncos pass rush, I thought he was excellent from start to finish. So definitely a more than passing grade put in context for the job that he's done. He did Sunday. And to be on your third string right tackle and still have pretty solid success is a testament to the talent evaluation and the coaching, of course, of Mike Munchak and Sean Surratt. But yeah, the big thing was just not finishing. Now you get 4 turnovers, you're 1-2 in the red zone. That touchdown came off of the Boswell fake, so the offense themselves went 0 for 2 and just couldn't convert. You had the Grimble fumble, you had the Connor fumble, you had James Washington drop a pass, just 2 picks, the blocked field goal. I mean, you cut out half of those plays. You can still have 3 of those mistakes. You cut out the other 3. Take your pick. Steelers win this game. So that's the disappointing part for sure. Grimble, just a bad decision, just trying to dive, not physical enough. He's a huge hulking tight end. Dude's rocked up, and he's getting out hit and out muscled by safety on the goal line. Connors was such a freak thing. I don't even know how he lost that football. Washington, I don't know what happened there. I didn't think it was the best throw from Ben, but certainly catchable for Washington, and a play he's got to make because the opportunities have been so slim for him. So that's where that's at. So some of the young guys not making plays like you need them to. Villanueva catching his touchdown pass. We'll touch on special teams on that aspect of it for a second. That was an awesome moment. Good throw from Boswell and a good finish there. That was cool to see. Steelers being aggressive and I wouldn't have done it. Certainly would not had the guts to do it. But Tomlin is a different kind of guy, and it's hard to argue with that. And it's kind of results based oriented, but got the job done. So happy about that. Defensively, it started off well. The Broncos, they have a couple playmakers. They're not a stacked team. Just some weird stuff happened, and it kind of wore down as the game went on, as the Broncos kind of hit their running game a little bit better, a little bit more commitment to that. Philip Lindsay's a great back, had 110 yards on 14 carries. That's an 8-yard average, which is just ridiculous. But there was just some weird stuff, like Joe Hayden getting toasted by Manny Sanders. Sanders is a good receiver. I know Hayden isn't the fastest guy anymore, but just weird matchups where he just was losing terribly multiple times, 2-3 times that Hayden got killed by Sanders, and I don't know what was going on there. It wasn't like a double move or just slipping. It was just dude getting beat. So weird situation there. And just in general, the lack of turnovers, some of the lack of pressure, has really hurt this team, and I've said it up and down, really since the beginning of the year. Once you, not that you realized, but you already knew it coming in. But the confirmation against the Chiefs and some of the Tampa stuff, that this defense was not going to be a top tier defense. That they were going to give up points, they were going to give up yards. Again, you knew that coming in, but you were confirmed the first couple of weeks when it looked really bleak, when things looked really bad. But you knew this defense, to be successful, needed to create splash. And when you beat Carolina, you created a lot of splash. When you beat, say, Tampa Bay, you created a lot of splash. On this win streak, you've gotten more pressure. You've created some more turnovers. But the last 2 weeks, you've had one turnover forced, and that was the final play against Jacksonville, the forced fumble, and a game that was essentially over with 5 seconds left. Didn't create a turnover today, and really didn't get close to one either. So that's been disappointing, and that's what this defense needs. Yes, needs to get on a playoff run. Not that the defense is going to win you any games in the playoffs, though it could. I mean, you might have those moments, but it needs to give the offense an extra couple of possessions. It needs to take a couple possessions away from the opposing offense and just maybe create a short field or stop a long drive by the opposing offense. Something that helps turn the tide and get you a feather in your cap. So that's been the issue with this defense. It's just, who are those consistent playmakers? Fortunately, this team doesn't really have them. Mike Hilton a little bit, but he's more of a ball skills kind of break up passes kind of guy rather than intercept them. Joe Hayden can be that guy, but teams don't throw at him a ton. And today was a day where he really struggled, so they were comfortable throwing at him. And those are cornerbacks, and those generally are guys that you can kind of scheme away from if you're an offense. So who are the guys you can't scheme away from? You had Ryan Shazier, a guy you really couldn't scheme away from because he was smack dab in the middle and he was unavoidable. And you had Troy Polamalu, who was a strong safety. You could run the entire field smack dab in the middle. Really can't avoid Troy. Those guys are tough to find, obviously, and that's what makes those guys so special. But you're going to need somebody not necessarily at that level. They don't have to be right there, but they got to be able to create some plays, and this team's not really having that. And with the pass rush being up and down, they're getting pressure, but a lot of bull rushes from the interior linemen. And when you bull rush, you can get pressure, but sacks are harder to do because it's tougher to disengage, and the quarterback can kind of escape the pocket. Keenum has some mobility, so long story short, you just got to find those playmakers and develop them. And certainly when you go into the draft for this year, and hopefully we're not talking about the draft for a while, you got to identify the playmakers. That's what this defense is sorely lacking. You knew that was going to be a big issue coming into this year, minus Shazier, and still looking for that replacement. Edmonds hasn't been that guy. Sean Davis hasn't been that guy. Again, the inside backers, which we kind of knew, not going to be those guys. The pass rush has been okay, but hit and miss, and you want guys that can create turnovers. So that's where this defense is at, and I think that's what's really hurt them the most, was just not having that consistent or even semi-consistent amount of splash. Special teams, to round things out, the block field goal, again, one of the many miscues and missed opportunities of this game. Talked about it on Friday's podcast, wrote about it in our scouting report, the posted a Friday morning, mentioned it on Twitter right before the game, that I felt like the Broncos had a good chance to block something. They had 3 blocks coming into this season. They got uber athletes like Justin Simmons, who blocked the field goal, leaping over Keon Candidate, the long snapper, to block that one. Great play by him. Tough to defend if you're a special teams coach. You want to mix up the cadence and mix up the snap count to try to get guys to jump early or be tentative and not know when the snap count's coming. So I'm guessing that played a part in Simmons being able to time that, but a big momentum changing play, and part of the turnovers and the big opportunities that Denver is able to create for themselves, and that's how teams win those games is through the turnover ratio. So, that's what you were afraid of, and unfortunately it happened. So you're trying to avoid that from here on out, but not unexpected if you follow the Broncos closely, or if we took a look at what we talked about heading into this week. And then lastly, the final point I wanted to talk about was the third down offense. Today, let me get the final stat. I think it was not good on third down today, despite the offense's overall successes moving the football. Yeah, 5 of 14 today on third down. Now Denver wasn't great either; they were 3 of 11. But last week they struggled on third down in the narrow come from behind victory against Jacksonville. I have the stat on Twitter and my stats of the weird article that basically during the first 4 weeks where winning was tough, the third down offense stunk. During the next 5 games, all wins, the third down offense was number 1 in the NFL. And then these last 2 games, their third down percentage is like 32%, just not good at all. They were 62.5% during this 5-game win streak, not including the Jacksonville game, which was the come from behind kind of crazy one. So while the turnovers are obvious, you turn the football over, you're -4 in the turnover ratio, gonna lose most of those games, which is true. The other stat that I think has a huge influence on at least the Steelers of this year, not just this game, but the whole season, is their third down conversion rate. When they convert on third downs, predictably, they win. When they don't, predictably, they lose, or they have to play really close games. The 30-27 victory over Tampa, the game last week against Jacksonville, 20-16. So that's the other factor with this team, the correlation causation of third down offense. When it's good, offense is good, they finish. When it's not, you get games like today where you're frustrated. So that's where this team's at. It's not the end of the world. Obviously you wanted to win this game. You're capable of winning this game, so you take a little bit of solace in that, knowing that if you play this game again, Steelers probably going to win. But certainly does not excuse the mistakes that they made, and they have no one to blame but themselves for this loss. So at least Cincy got pretty much blown out by Cleveland. Now Baltimore did come back to beat Oakland, but you're still in the driver's seat in the AFC North, and you got a tough Chargers team coming in for sure. This weekend, Sunday night, I believe. But we'll talk about that. And they did, I think, suffer an injury with Melvin Gordon, their star running back today, so that could be some good news for the Steelers defense. But get back on the horse and try to get the win this upcoming Sunday. But the consistent splash, limiting the turnovers, just not beating yourself, that's going to be the big key there. So let me know your thoughts on this game in the comments below, whether you're watching on YouTube, follow me on Twitter at Alex_Kozora, or following us on Steelers Depot. Let me know your thoughts below, and thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.